concept of family office is something that comes up in today's environment all of the time. And it's really hard to describe what a family office is because so much of the work that's done there is somewhat shrouded in secrecy because these are high net worth individuals that really want their privacy. Hi, I'm Frank Balistreri, and I'm the partner in charge of the consulting practice at Sensiba. Sensiba is a top 100 CPA firm in the US, and we've got employees spread throughout the entire country. We also have a family office practice, so I thought it would be prudent for us to take on the question of what is a family office. And so joining me today, I've got Tom Crotty, our family office practice leader, and Catherine Edgecombe, our client accounting services practice leader, both of whom have spent quite a bit of time working with families and their family offices. And we would like to spend a little bit of time in educating you on what a family office actually is. So Tom, as the leader, why don't you take us through some high-level thoughts, and then Catherine, I know you're going to get a little deeper into some of the things that we do for families. So Tom, over to you.
Thanks, Frank. And the reason this comes up so often these days is because family offices are actually one of the fastest growing types of organizations in the United States, maybe the world. The reason there's some confusion or some secrecy and some lack of understanding is because there's an infinite variety of family offices, almost as many types of family offices as there are families. And a lot depends on how the wealth was created. Is it a technology, Silicon Valley, sudden wealth that comes to the families, or is it wealth that was built over the last 20, 25 years, which is historically how wealth was built in this country? And then which generation are we dealing with? Are we dealing with the first generation who's not that familiar with managing their wealth, or is it a second or third or maybe even a sixth generation where all the processes, procedures, and everything are kind of orchestrated?
Tom, it's interesting. No matter what generation you're dealing with, there's one common denominator that they love to come to us with. And what is the number one pain point that we see with families?
Absolutely, bill pay and accounting. It's just it causes stress. It causes challenges across the board for families.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Which brings me to the types of family offices there are. There's the embedded family office where you own a company and you have internal resources, CFO, controllers, assistants, taking care of family personal items. Then you have what we call an administrative family office where there may be some travel arrangements made, gathering information for tax returns. There may be just a variety of things that an assistant type person might do for a family. Then there's the investment family office where all that money that has been either earned and or gotten through stock options, etc., that has to be managed. And who's managing that? Sometimes it's in the family, sometimes it's outsourced, but someone in the family office has to manage it. And then there's the accounting family office where a full scale of bill pay, accounting, reporting, all needs to be taken care of for all the financial activities of the family. And the more complex the family, the more that bill pay is really needed. And you could take any number of these types of family offices and combine them. So sometimes you have investment and accounting, sometimes administrative and accounting. It just depends on the family and what they need to accomplish. And so there's two types of families. There's a single family office where it's just one family and extended, but it's all one family. And then there's a multi-family office where you might leverage a number of professionals across different families. And sometimes that's a nice way to leverage those professional resources. Back to that point, Frank, of the pain point. We do find the single biggest pain point that families talk to us about is bill pay. And you might, an illustration might kind of drive it home. So Frank and I think, Frank, if you recall, you and I met with a family that they were quite concerned about how they were getting their bill pay. bills paid because the one day the wife took the children and some family friends and took them up to one of their family homes up in the mountains during the winter, only to find that the gas and electricity had not been on for months in that home because this embedded family CFO uh, has a full-time job. And this is just something that kind of got off their radar. And suddenly there's no heat and ability to have a nice weekend. Um,
I don't know about you, Tom, but that's not a phone call that I want to receive from a client after hours. And, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but that's a true story. And it's indicative of some of the challenges here, right? Like you don't want your company CFO to be distracted from running the business, right? You want them focused on continuing to grow your company. And it really does get to be a lot when you layer in some of the family obligations on top of that. So we do recommend separating out the family from the business.
And Frank, along that line, so often our high net worth families are used to certain standards in their businesses, and they want that same level of expertise and the same standards administered in their family offices. So I think that's where it gets hard at times for some families.
yeah, yeah, and that's why there's you can do it internally. You can hire internal resources. You can have outsourced resources. It just depends on what works for the family. But Catherine, maybe you can expand more upon this bill pay, best practices and processes.
Sure, because as we've already mentioned, bill pay is so important and can also be extremely challenging depending on who's administering the bill pay. And really, good bill pay is the backbone of good reporting, which is the ultimate goal to help families reduce some of their stress. And so one of the things that is the best practice for bill pay is to establish a centralized system for processing payments, because that helps avoid errors, it ensures timely disbursements, and allows for better tracking of the payments. And I know it sounds very simple to talk about bill pay, but it really is so important. And families often wonder why they can't just put their bills on auto pay or do it themselves. And if you think about auto pay, oftentimes things are missed and you don't have the analysis that comes with human oversight. So best practices definitely is not to do auto pay. And then looking at why a family may not want to do it themselves. So I like to think about bill pay a lot like cleaning your own house. You can clean your own house, but so many of us choose to hire someone to do it for us. Why? It's much more efficient to hire someone to do it. Most people don't enjoy doing it. And at the end of the day, the result is so much better if a professional does it for
Catherine,
you.
I think one of the things that also you have a higher chance of not having bills and things you owe fall through the cracks because you're not, we're there. I mean, the professionals are there all the time as opposed to on vacation or dealing with kid stuff, college graduations and all that kind of thing. So I think your point is well taken for sure.
And the other piece there too, Tom, is the internal control aspect, right? A lot of people will say, well, I can just use bill pay through my bank, right? And yeah, you can do that, but you don't get any of the back end reporting with that. And then you don't get that human element that's actually reviewing those transactions. So we had another client that happened to own two lots next to each other. And if he had had his stuff on bill pay, his water bill all of a sudden shot way up one month, and there was a leak on the property they didn't know about, right? And if that's on auto pay, that's just going to continue to happen and no one's going to pay attention to it. But when you've got somebody there actually helping pay the bills and keeping an eye on it, you can catch those types of things and bring it to their attention and get it resolved.
And also when you have someone watching those bills and paying them, they're coding them to the correct categories so that you do have much better reporting. And all families should have the ability to see their entire financial picture. And so Oftentimes families have bills that are being paid in multiple different areas. They have traditional and non-traditional assets, and then they also have other investments sitting in different places. So it's really the best practice to pull all the assets and all the data into one place, and to provide one net worth statement for a family, and then also to provide families with a breakdown of their spend. It just allows them better visibility, and it's so important for family members and their key stakeholders to have a clear picture of the financial landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. And where this becomes additionally very important is in estate planning, right? What we find typically with the families that we work with, there's one spouse or the other that tends to be the one that has all of the knowledge, right? And, God forbid something happens and that spouse is now no longer there, and whoever is left has to figure everything out. If you've got your financial picture in order, it makes it a lot simpler to work through a very challenging time. As we say a lot, as we talk in and amongst our practice, if you've seen one family office, you've seen one family office. And I think the thing that keeps us really interested in this work is every single one of these is different. And we really enjoy getting to know the family and developing a set of policies and procedures that really helps them to make life simpler and take the stress off of them. So if you're interested in finding out more about our family office practice, please reach out to us with the links below, or you can reach out to us through our website, www.sensiba.com, and we'd be happy to develop a customized approach for you and your family.